We're going to talk about 2 tracks today. The third and fourth track off of Trap God, Hemorrhaging and Bad Habits. But before I do that, I'm going to make a quick beat for you guys just to set the tone for this little BTS video.
People don't want to believe it, but 2 chords is all you need to make a banger. That's ghostly and mean. Exactly what we're looking for. Let's get a little chop at our arcade here. Ooh. Let's get a second chop. Ooh. Get a little 808 under here. Sometimes you don't need much, and you know it's a banger and she's cooked. I feel like a lot of people struggle with what to write songs about. When you see all of your favorite rappers getting to rap about a lifestyle that you don't have, clothes and jewelry and cars that you can't afford, and stuff that you just don't have as a poor person making music. If you can't find any interesting lived experience to write about, I might suggest getting a life. But if you can't do that, then write about your goals. Use that as a jumping off point to make art that is still genuine, but maybe can contain lyrics or themes from stuff that you don't necessarily have access to in your every day-to-day life. Let's just go ahead and lay down a little idea here.
I'm trying to fuck a pop star. 2 or 3 a.m. I'm off a rock. Feeling this way I move like Baccarat. She treat me like a rock star. This fanboy turn her finger and she swoons. Kiss her death, she's a wreck, I don't miss. If I hit, then it flips, she's obsessed. Oh, she wished, yeah she did, yeah she wished. I'm on send, I'm on 10, I'm on 10.
Let's go ahead and talk about the third track on my album, Trap God.
You took a bullet to the head
It sure feels like it.
and lost a lot of blood.
Yep.
So if you would please try not to rip the stitches holding your brain in, that would be great.
I always imagined in this scene that Lil Big Boy would look a lot like Ted from Breaking Bad after that one scene.
We are going to have you eating solid food in a day or 2.
Exactly. Fucked up.
But I think you're right. I just need to sit back and relax.
Wait!
The idea that even in the worst of times, after waking up from an extremely traumatic head injury, presumably out of surgery, on a hospital bed, concussed, in the schmuck? What is it? Hospital smock? Okay, so smock is wait, it's a robe gown? And the idea he would still have weed on him somehow, even when everything's been taken away from him. He's ready to get high.
Wait!
They kind of wind down. It's the way I imagine that people who are afraid of smoking weed thinks that smoking weed will feel, where you're gonna like take a puff and your whole world is just gonna, and like you're gonna be fucking out in space just tripping balls, like not on this planet anymore. But also he's got that rapper weed, so it's kind of just gas and it's gonna fuck you up. That transition also kind of ends up being the first real psychedelic trippy effect that kind of happens throughout the rest of the album, where the other songs really start to blend into each other a lot more.
Yeah, I got some bad habits. Hanging thugs, automatics. Whoa. Peeling cabs, bodies bagging. Yeah. We don't care what you packing. No. Yeah, I got some bad habits. Drug money.
I really wanted the first track on the album to tell us who this character is, and then I needed the second track to tell us what was the lifestyle and the choices that led to him being shot.
Drug money. Blood diamonds, sad habits, dancing on me. gang violence.
Drug money, blood diamonds, dancing on me, gang violence. Really paints a picture, you know?
Pop the blicky, it ain't silence in my city, but it stays silent.
I think a Coi Leray song had just come out, and she had said Blicky in it. And I remember going, damn, I gotta find a way to say Blicky in a song. Most of the time, that's how I come up with the things that I'll say. I just go, that's a really fun word, or a weird phrase, or a fun thing to say.
The alarms raise, we stay firing, cause all my dogs, they chase sirens.
The alarm's raised, we stay firing, because all my dogs chase sirens. The double entendres here, every single bar, go incredibly hard.
We do not play it safe, no stage time, we make plays. This life's not for the faint.
No stage time, we make plays. This verse actually might be one of the only times I've fully rewritten a verse. I never felt like the song was incorrect, but that first verse just never felt like it matched the energy correctly to me in the original version of it that I had. I generally don't do a lot of rewriting. I tend to trust my first instinct with what I want to say on a song, and I try not to question that. I may clean up phrases so that a flow will work better, or it'll sound cleaner or smoother, but generally speaking, I write most of these songs from front to back. Shit's really good. I'm very proud of this. Making this album was a real journey with finding out a lot about myself creatively and how I like to work, how I like to write, and how I approach making music.
Yeah, I got some bad habits. Pull up in a coupe, hop out and we shoot. Selling drugs to your boo. Damn, the only ghost here is you.
The first 4 bars of the second verse, I distinctly remember, was the first time that I had an idea for a cadence outside of the context of a beat. Coming up with the idea for that flow and realizing that it would fit very well on Bad Habits. And I remember thinking, oh, that's going to be a great way to cut out the beat and have this really crazy different energy in the second verse.
Boy, I know I got the juice. Real ones in my crew. Hang you up with the news. I don't fuck with none of you. Trap life be the death of me. Making too many enemies. Pop the trunk, get the weaponry.
The escalation in the second verse, I think, is also a pretty interesting turning point for me musically, as well as that first realization, being able to now hear stuff in my head and make it physically exist, I think started to give me a lot more confidence in the ideas and the inflections that I would choose to use, give me more confidence to experiment with my voice. The entire second verse is really, really dense with like multi-syllable rhymes and slant rhymes, moderately more technical rapping than I do on some of the other tracks. That stuff to me is really, really fun. I really like the puzzle. Making stuff you didn't expect to rhyme.
Again, you move in my lane, I push a bitch out. You get in my way, I knock a bitch down. You think that I play, you gon' learn what I'm about. I'm Lil Big Boy, and this is my house. I'm Lil Big Boy, I'm running this town. I'm Lil Big Boy, bitch, get the fuck out.
I feel like if you're trying to do really technical rapping with lots of multi-syllable rhymes and slant rhymes and skewing words in weird ways and picking odd inflections, it can be really, really easy to get very in your head about, did this land on time? Is this the right way that this kind of skips a beat and then lands in a different area? And for months before the album came out, I remember playing back Bad Habits, and every time I would hear something new that was like slightly off, whether that was like a word was hitting a few milliseconds too early or late, or a syllable was out of place. And I think ultimately the further away I get from the song, the more I don't hear those anymore. It was also before I was good at comping many takes together, and so I remember every time I messed up something on that verse, I would just do the whole thing again and again and again. Now I find very often that I just record 1 or 2 takes, and then I'll just kind of pick the best moments from each of them, and then I'll just kind of shove them around in post. Like, I don't really feel the need to hit the down to the millisecond perfect timing, you know? I'm not a drummer who's coming in and has to keep time for the rest of the band. I think that just about does it for these 2 tracks. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this little BTS beat breakdown, whatever the fuck these videos are. The next video is going to be on medical and bitch I feel good. Have a beautiful time. Why am I getting up? I actually have nowhere to go. I'm just gonna turn and edit this now. It felt like a... Okay, I'm gonna go.
I'm tryna fuck a pop star. 2 or 3